Hey, shalom, shalom. First off, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahashim YAHAWASHI, Bahashim, Ruach HaKodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who learned the truth of the gospel of Yahawashi from through the Holy Spirit. Honor, salutation, and blessings to the men that is pushing the gospel of Yahawah, Bahashim YAHAWASHI in all sincerity, diligence, and truth. Peace, grace, and blessings be upon the house of David, which is the elect. So I just want to touch on this topic, Lord willing, to be edifying into the elect. I'm just meditating on this scripture. All right, as we are approaching World War III, all right, which is going to usher in the destruction of Babylon the Great. Okay, and also during that time, Yahawashi, our Savior, all right, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, is going to return during that time as well and establish, his authority, all right, his rightful place as the King of Kings and Lord of Lords on the earth, all right, and all nations shall, be subjected underneath him, all right, and so you read that in the book of Revelation, the 19th chapter, and it's, that which is a vision that John the Revelator, was given by Yahawashi, all right, and he saw his return. He saw, the armies of heaven that followed him, and he saw the destruction of the armies that came to fight with him, came to fight against him. All right, similar to the same vision that Esdras had when you read in the book of Second Esdras, the 13th chapter. But I just really want to focus on the 15th verse. All right, in the first part, as it reads, "And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he should rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the wine press of the fierceness of the wrath of the Almighty power." Okay, so now, this verse, all right, much like a lot of Revelation, is parabolic or allegorical, all right, because when you read the first part, which says, "Out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword," you have a lot of people who are unlearned, all right, a lot of people who are not, does not, have the spirit of discernment. They will believe that a actual sharp sword is going to, proceed out of the mouth of Yahawashi, okay, which we know that that's not the case. So, I mean, we can prove that, through precepts, all right, and also through actually getting, some definitions that these words mean. Okay, so it's a lot here. Just wanted to put this on. So let's get right into it. So as it says, "Out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword." So we know this to be understood as the chariots. All right, out of Yahawashi, his own chariot, which once again in Second Esdras, 13th chapter, Esdras saw as a mountain that was graven. Okay, but he couldn't see the place on the earth where the mountain was graven at, because that's how big his chariot looked into him. All right, and when you see movies such as Independence Day, the first and second one, it depicts a so-called UFO, which is a chariot or the chariots of the Most High, Yahawah, Bashim, Yahawashi, all right, being very, very huge. Okay, so we know that this is a chariots that the Lord is going to come in this atmosphere in the earth, all right, in the heavens with, all right, in the skies, right, and they're coming for two reasons: for one, to save the elect, all right, and for two, to smite the heathen and the non-elect that are destined to be destroyed in the second death. So let's get this word mouth. Okay, it says mouth. Where is it? Right here, the Strong's definition. It says, by implication, it says the mouth as if a gash in the face. By implication, language and its relation figuratively, an opening in the earth, especially the front or edge of a weapon. Edge, face, mouth. All right, so the mouth can represent actual physical, mouth, as it says here, as part of a body, right? But figuratively, and like I said before, a lot of the book of Revelation is written, in parabolic form or figuratively. You see? So the chariots are a weapon, just like Esau's F-35 fighter jets. Although those are planes, those are actual instruments of weapons. So similar to that is what the chariots are also like. They're vehicles, just like the planes. Fighter jets are vehicles, but they're vehicles that are used as weapons, just like a tank. Okay. So when it says especially the front or edge of a weapon, edge, face, mouth. Now when you look at depictions of chariots, which all comes from these depictions that people that you see illustrated, all right, or you see in movies, it all comes from something, all right. It all comes from a visual that was either written about or saw or seen, all right. And there's plenty of different various, even going back into like the ancient times. I believe in the Incas, if I'm not mistaken, in South America, there are writings in the walls or of caves that show chariots. They call them the Los Ovnis, all right, in Spanish, if I'm saying that correctly, okay. And they showing a wheel within a wheel, all right, and then they're showing something that's coming from between or in the middle of that, which that would be likened to as the mouth of the chariot. So out of the mouth of the chariot, out of the middle, all right, out of the as it says here, the gash. Where is it? It says the gash in the face, or an opening out of the opening of the chariot, right? It says what happens. So his mouth is not speaking about literally the Yahawashi's mouth. It's speaking about his chariots. The opening of the chariot goeth a sharp sword. Now, when you go into the word sharp, it really just breaks it down to the point. So right here it says sharp, swift, quick. When you go to the Strongs, it says probably akin to the base G188 acid. All right, so it's an acid. Now we know that acid does what? It burns, it dissolves whatever whatever element that it touches. Mainly metals, or and I should say mainly organic compound, which is what the human body is made up out of. So when you go into the definition of acid here, it says a chemical substance that neutralizes alkalis, dissolves some metals, and turns litmus red. Typically a cohesive or sour tasting liquid of this kind. All right, it says acid, sour, tart, bitter, sharp, biting, uh, uh, acrid or acrid. So like if I'm pronouncing that wrong, pungent, vinegary, vinegarish, so on and so forth. So now when you go to, so as it says here, it says dissolves some metals, right? So this is what the sharp part of the sword represents. And then when you go into the actual word sword here, it says a large sword. Go back to the definition, Strong's definition. It says a sabre, i.e. a long and broad cutlass, a weapon of any kind, literally or figuratively. So when you look at a laser, beam from depictions from movies or artist illustrations, when you look at a chariot's tractor beam that would be used to elevate something, aka the elect, as the scripture reads, come up hither. All right, and then also in Isaiah the 26th chapter, it speaks about enter into thy chambers, for a little moment till the indignation be overpassed, right? But you also have that opening of the mouth of the chariot that can project something out, okay, that can shoot a concentrated fire out of it, and that is and that beam, all right, which is once again, let's go here to Second Ezra 13, all right, which gives the compounds of what that laser beam is made up out of. So Second Ezra 13, okay, which is a vision or dream that Esdras received by the Yahweh, okay, by Hashem YAHAWASHI through in the angel Uriel broke him down the vision of the dream. So it says, I'm gonna go to straight verse 4. It says, and whensoever the voice of his mouth, Salakia, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it filleth the fire. All right. So Esdras saw similar to what John the Revelator saw, something coming out of, quote unquote, the mouth of this man. All right. But Esdras says what? That when it went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard the voice, as if the earth faileth when it filleth the fire. So when you read it in here, when we read it in Revelation 19 and 15, it doesn't speak specifically about anybody being burnt, right? But when you go into the word sharp, it's a word acid. It's the word acid. Now, when you go into the etymology of the word, Salaki, not the etymology. I wanted the, I don't know how that just happened. Salaki, I don't even know how to fix this. But we'll just hold that there. Let's go into acid. All right. Or Salakia, why does acid dissolve skin? So it says, acid, what happens when acid reacts with skin? Contacts can cause pain, redness, burns, and blistering. Now, it's not specifically acid that is being shot at out of the lasers, but acid has a same effect as fire. Because what? It can burn, it can dissolve, it can melt something, whatever it touches. All right, it says acid's the basis and extremely reactive with those compounds, meaning that if it touches them, they will form salts and destroy the compounds, the original compounds, thus damaging our skin. When I read this, it just reminded me of Lot's wife. When she looked back, she turned into a pillar of salt. Okay, which could have, and this is just me speculating through the spirit. When she turned back, the Lord could have, sent a chariot and shot her, and she just, turned into basically ash, all right, or salt. You see? So let's go here back to 2nd Ezra 13th chapter. So we know that acid has the same type of effects as fire. So when we read in Revelation the 15th chapter, 19th and verse 15, it says, out of his mouth, which is the chariots, all right, the opening of the chariots, all right, which is a weapon, right, goeth forth a sharp sword. So a sharp meaning something that's like likened unto an acid, or something that can burn or dissolve, compounds, elements. And the sword represents what? Just any type of weapon. So let's read down. I'm gonna jump to verse 6. It says, but I beheld, and lo, he had graven himself a great mountain, and flew upon it. So we know that YAHAWASHI, when he returns, he's going to be traveling on something that can fly. Right? Let's go to Isaiah 63rd chapter. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling with in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. All right, and we get this in the NLT. It says, "Who is this? Who is this who comes from Edom, from the city of Basra, with his clothes stained red? Who is this in royal robes, marching in his great strength? It is I, the Lord, announcing your salvation. It is I, the Lord, who has power to save." You see that? So YAHAWASHI is coming to do what? He's coming to save, and he has power to save. Because only if YAHAWASHI doesn't return, we will never be able to be delivered. We will, because as it is written, we are in the hands of them that are mightier than us. All right? We don't have any way to deliver ourselves out of the hand of them that hate us, pursuant to Luke 1, 68 on down. So YAHAWASHI is the one who is mighty to save. All right? He has the strength. He has the power to deliver us. And he's coming to Esau, Edom, mainly here in Babylon. But those chariots going to be throughout the whole world, right? Delivering the elect out of this kingdom, this captivity, which this rulership, this age is given into the hand of the wicked, Esau being the end of the world. All right? So now let's go back to 2nd Ezra 16, Salakia 13, verse 6. So it says, "I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it." So this instrument, all right, or this vehicle is able to fly. And that's something that he, as we just read in Isaiah 63rd chapter, would be traveling in. It says, "But I would have seen the region or the place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight." Why would they be sore afraid? Because of the strength and the power, the majesty that YAHAWASHI and the armies that are following him are coming in. Okay? Something that is far beyond what they have all looked for. Strangeness, all right, of our salvation, pursuant to Wisdom of Solomon, the 5th chapter, verse 9. "And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand nor held sword." So we know that he's not going to actually be physically holding a sword, okay, when he returns, because he's going to be traveling. He's going to be flying in a weapon himself. The weapon that YAHAWASHI and the angels are going to be traveling in is going to be enough to destroy Esau's armies and the armies of the rest of these nations. All right, and other parts of the earth as well. So he doesn't actually need to lift up a sword. It says, "Nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth." Once again, this is not speaking physically or literally, I should say, out of his mouth, but we know that the mouth is the opening of the chariots, "as it had been a blast of fire out of his lips, a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, and they all mixed together." So that is why when you read the definition of sharp in Revelation 19 and 15, it's acid. Because what does acid? What does the compounds of acid do? It dissolves. It burns. Okay, and a very strong acid, okay, it will burn straight through your flesh, straight through your tendons, straight through your muscles, and straight through your bones. And that's why Ezra saw this, right? And it says what? And it fell the blast, Salakia, "and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and a great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which were prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. And when I saw this, I was afraid." Okay? Because Esdras, once again, he saw this dream, and he saw this man coming out of the heavens, okay, from the coming through the firmament with the innumerable mounts of chariots, with the angels are also, operating and driving in. Okay, and he came to destroy the multitude that came to fight against him. All right, which are what? These other nations and their armies. Okay, so let's get this. Matthew 24 verse 30. It says, "And then shall appear the sign of man, the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." So the clouds are what? The clouds of heaven are the chariots of Yahawah Ba'Shem YAHAWASHI. And how do we know that? This is the book of Psalms, chapter 104, verse 3. It says, Salakia, "Who layeth his beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariots, who walketh upon the wings of the wind." All right, "Who maketh his angels spirits and his ministers a flaming fire." So the chariots are likened unto clouds. Okay, they can be cloaked in clouds. All right, they can fly. When you look up in the sky and you see clouds, those clouds are technically flying, so to speak, figuratively. But that's what the chariots are. That's why when you read the scriptures, it says the clouds of heaven. Okay, because if he was coming in an actual cloud, first of all, you can't travel. I mean, the Lord can if he wanted to, but practically speaking, a cloud, you can't be inside of a cloud. All right, you can't. A cloud has no. It's not a solid. It's not a solid element. All right, that's why airplanes can go right through clouds. You can, if you're falling out of the sky, you can go right through a cloud. You're not going to bounce on the cloud, and it's not a solid foundation. All right. So when we read in the book of Revelation 1 verse 7, it says, "Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds in the earth shall wail because of him, even so amen." Okay. So so I want to read that, but let me go back to the Matthew 24 verse 30, and it says it's the same thing as Revelation 1 and 7. It says, "And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory," just as he was taken up. All right, he was taken up in a whirlwind, and that's what the angels told the disciples. Acts 1 and 9. "And when he had spoken these things while they beheld, he was taken up," similar to how Elijah was taken up. And what did Elisha say? He says what? He said what? The chariots of Israel. Okay, that's what took up Elijah to heaven. All right, to the spirit realm, and that's what happened with Yahawashi. It says, "Behold, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight." So a cloud did what? It wasn't a cloud; it was a chariot. Did what? It beamed him up out of their sight. It says, and while they looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up, behold, two men stood by them with white apparel, which also said, "Ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven?" Because what they just saw was something that they've never saw before. They've seen chariots, because while Yahawashi was there, chariots came. A voice came out of the heavens. Okay, but this was something that, seeing somebody getting beamed up right in front of them, they were gazing at that. But the angel said, "Well, why are you doing that?" I said, "This same Yahawashi which was taken up from you into heaven shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven." So as Yahawashi left in the chariot, he's coming back in the chariot. All right. Let me see something. I just need to pause this real quick. So, yep, I'm back. So let's just keep it moving. Next, I wanted to get Zechariah chapter 14, verse 12. It says, "And this will be the plague wherewith the Lord YAHAWAH YAHAWASHI will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem." Because as we read in Isaiah the 63rd chapter, that he said what? That he is traveling in the greatness of his strength, I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. So he's coming. He has power to deliver. He has power. He has might to save. And who is he saving? He is saving the elect of the nation of Israel, which is why John the Revelator in Revelation the 21st chapter, it says what? "Then I saw New Jerusalem come down, out of heaven, come down from the Lord out of heaven," because they were taken up, okay, so that they can be exempt from the destruction, the wrath, all right, the plague, all right, that Yahawah YAHAWASHI is bringing. First, the missiles, okay, during World War III, but also YAHAWASHI himself is coming with fire, okay. This is Isaiah 66 verse 16. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahawah YAHAWASHI shall be many. Okay, so the fire is the sword. The sword is the fire. You see? Let's get another one to prove that. This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 8. Salakia, 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 7. It says, "And to you who are troubled, rest with us, when the Lord YAHAWASHI shall be revealed from heaven with the glory, with his mighty angels." That is the army, or the armies that is following him, as it is written here in the 14th chapter, in the armies which were, Salaki, in the 19th chapter, the 14th verse, "In the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses." All right, that's that the white horses, once again, is figuratively speaking about the chariots. All right, white representing pure, horses representing power. All right, "Clothed with fine linen, white and clean." So when we read in 2 Thessalonians 1, verse 7, it says, "When the Lord YAHAWASHI shall be revealed from heaven with his mighty angels." And the angels are part of his military, which is why one of the titles of Yahawah is what? As you read, it says the Lord of hosts. When you go into that word hosts, it means armies. All right. Verse 8, it says, "In a flaming fire, taking vengeance on them that know not the Most High, and that obey not the gospel of our Lord YAHAWASHI HaMashiach." You see that? So YAHAWASHI himself is coming with fire, and that fire is going to proceed out of the mouth of the chariots, which is that sharp sword, which, once again, that sharpness is likened unto acid, because it has the same elements as acid, or the same, it does the same thing that acid does, which is what? Melt. Okay, it melt things. So it says, going back to Zechariah 14 verse 12, "And this will be the plague wherewith the Lord YAHAWAH YAHAWASHI will smite all the people that fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth." All right, and a illustration of that is, when you watch Terminator, I think it's 2, Judgment Day, when you see Sarah Connor and that vision that she had holding on to the fence, and her flesh is consuming away because of that fire. Well, you have the nukes that are going to be doing that, and then also YAHAWASHI himself is coming with fire, man. That's why the scripture says, "Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord, to what end is it for you?" All right, a lot of people think that YAHAWASHI is coming back. The Son of Man, the Son of God, is coming back, handing out flowers and hugging everybody. No, he's coming to do a lot of killing. All right, let's read it again. Isaiah 66 verse 16, "For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. And how is he going to slay them? Let's read it. Ezekiel 22, verse 20. As they gather silver and brass and iron and lead and tin into the midst of a furnace to blow the fire upon it, to melt it, so will I gather you in mine anger and in my fury, and I will leave you there and melt you. Yeah, I will gather you and blow upon you in the fire of my wrath, and ye shall be melted in the midst thereof. Okay? And that is what those chariots, all right, those beams of tempest, all right, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest mingled together. That's what it's going to do. It's going to melt whatever it touches. Okay? 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night. Yahawashi said what? Behold, I come quickly. Behold, I come as a thief. A lot of people are not paying attention. A lot of people are not watching for the signs. So they don't even realize that Yahawashi is close to come. That this day of his indignation is nigh at hand. It says, in the which, so when that day comes, what's going to happen? In the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise. All right, hey, when you read in the book of Psalms 91, it speaks about that noisome pestilence. Psalms 91, verse 6, it says, nor for the pestilence that walketh in the darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth in the noonday. Salakia. Verse 3, it says, surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. Okay? Because when those missiles hit, it's going to be very loud. When Yahawashi comes with, and while those missiles are hitting, Yahawashi is going to come in the midst of that. And he's going to come, and it's going to be, those chariots are going to have make a very, loud noise. All right? It ain't going to be like how they show you in that movie Left Behind, where all of a sudden and everything is just dandy and fine. Okay, it's just a nice cloudless day on the earth, and then people just disappear and their clothes just drop. No, the Lord Scripture says that all eyes shall see him. They're going to hear him too. All right, he says he's going to travail like a crying woman. So, as it says here, it says, in the which the heavens, speaking about the ones who are on high, all right, the elites of this world, the ones who are pursuant to Revelation, the 12th chapter, where it says Michael and the angels shall fought against the dragon and his angels. All right, and their place was found no more in the heavens, meaning that they were no more on that high seat. They were no more the upper echelon of society. No, they're going to be brought low. So it says the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Okay? So the elements melting with a fervent heat. Just 1 second. Plug this up. The elements melting with a fervent heat. When you go to the definition of acid, right? And like I said, this is just acid is similar to the word is used for sharp. It shows you that acid, it dissolves things, right? It says acids are partially charged. When acid comes in contact with metal, the acid steals free electrons away. So ultimately, they're trying to explain it from a chemical, standpoint, but it does what? It dissolves the skin. All right, it says how fast does acid dissolve skin? It says when researchers place pieces of pig carcasses in sulfuric acid, because you have sulfuric acid, there's different types of acid, right? But when you go into the word of brimstone, the word is sulfur. All right, sulfur. So it says sulfuric acid, the flesh took several days to dissolve. Okay? So that's why when you read here, let's jump down to verse. I'll keep going. Verse 11. It says, "Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved." Let's go into that word dissolved, similar to the word, a synonym to word melt, right? So boom, boom, boom. To dissolve something coherent into parts, to dissolve, to loosen. Yeah, see, because when you read in the why does, where is it? Why does acid dissolve things? Let's see. It says, yep. It says when acid comes into contact with a metal, the acid steals free electrons away. That loosens the bonds holding metal atoms in place, so the metals dissolves. So this is what the chariots are coming to do. All right, this is what YAHAWASHI and the angels are coming to do, by way of their chariots. All right, that sharp sword that goes out of his mouth is going to dissolve the elements and the things that whatever it's set forth to strike, it's going to dissolve it. Where was I? Right. So it says to loosen, destroy, dissolve, unloose, melt, put off. So you do not want to be a part of that, man. Because as we read in Second Ezra, Salaki, and we read in Ezekiel, the 22nd chapter, he said, "I will melt you and leave you there." Remember, your spirit is who you are. He's the Father of spirits. So the Lord can melt you, melt your flesh, but leave your spirit in that vessel, and you feeling every single solitary moment of that. It says, "Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, melted, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahawashi, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat." Fervent heat. Okay, so yep. Basically, I had touched on everything that I wanted to touch on. I just wanted to bring this out, just to bring more edification on the meaning of, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword. All right, speaking about the chariots shooting those that concentrated fire. All right, the tempest, the what else it says, the flaming breath. Okay, all of that being shot out of the chariots and what it's going to do. So with that, Lord willing, this is edifying unto the elect. Till next time, shalom.